All right, guys, so let's get out there and tackle this poaching idea. Like any shot in tennis, I think it's really important to have a nice, technically sound, base to the shot. And when we're discussing a poach volley, we're usually talking about a moving volley, often one where you're completely stretched out when you're hitting. So there's three main components we have to go over in order to have you guys confident in this sometimes tricky move. So let's go ahead and jump out on court and take a look. All right, guys, so here we are out on the court, and like I said before, discussing these three main components for the technique on the poach, okay? And the first being the pattern of footwork that we need in order to poach effectively. I think it's just so common that we would see a lot of club level players poaching directly sideways, which is a poach killer, to be honest. So first and foremost, with the poach footwork, we're always looking for you guys to be moving directly on a diagonal, hopefully into your partner's half of the court. So I'd be moving from this position in a diagonal, and it's not a bad thing to get up on top of the net, because if the lob came, my partner would cover it. One thing we do need to discuss is this starting point, okay? Couple things. It's very tough to move on a diagonal if you guys are up too close to the net. It really only allows you to move sideways. And at the same time, if you guys are too far back, that diagonal, even if it's solid, gives the returner too much room to drop the ball at your feet. So the starting position before this diagonal move, I'm looking for you guys to be pretty much halfway between the service line and the net, and for you a little more aggressive players, maybe a step or two in tighter from there. But generally around the center of the box, not too far left, not too far right, and that way I'm in the returner's kind of view here, and I'm on their mind, and now my diagonal move doesn't allow them to give me a ball that's going to drop too far below my feet, okay? Secondly, setting the racket in front of my body, and this is a really big key for you guys. A lot of people that poach are thinking aggressively, which is good, but with that aggressiveness, we see the racket get taken back a lot of times a little bit too far. And now it becomes too much of a swing. And we're not looking to have a swing volley here. We're just looking to have a nice standard forehand volley. So what I want you guys to make sure to do is, as you get going en route on the diagonal, make sure to set the racket in front of your body so as to eliminate the swing. Because now as I get up here, I'm in that habit of just hitting more of a stick standard volley, okay? Thirdly, strings to the target. And in this case, I want you guys to take my word for it. In a standard setup where I'm poaching, I've got my returner at the baseline and my net player at the service line. I want the target pretty much 99% of the time that you guys poach to be at the feet of the net player on that ad side of the court over there. And the reason for that, they're given a lot less reaction time between the ball coming off my racket and them having to hit, whereas if I go back to the baseline player, even if I hit a really nice, good, clean volley, it's just a little bit of extra reaction time for them being farther back that gives them a chance to make a better play on the ball. Okay, so let's recap this. I want you guys about halfway up the service box. Obviously, a nice little bounce in the feet is going to help to get us moving. We're going to take this diagonal path where the racket sets in front of my body, and then I want my strings facing my target en route to the ball, which is going to be somewhere around the feet of the net player on that half. Now, I'm tall. Some of you guys might be tall. Some might be short. There's a chance that I might overrun the ball. I might get stretched. Don't worry if the volley is not perfect volley technique. The racket might end up coming back towards you a little bit. The racket might get stretched out a little bit. So long as with those little moves, you guys are able to keep the strings focused on the target,
perfectly okay. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of these. Ready, position intact. Okay, I get that nice diagonal move. And there we go. Let's see it again. Racket head's in front of my body, and those strings are facing my target the whole way. One more time. All right, so 3 pretty solid poaches there. I think if you guys utilize those 3 keys for technique on the poach, you guys are going to find a lot of success on that play.
So there you have it, guys. Not just specific technique for the volley on a poach, but also some very technical movement that is very important in helping you guys to set the building blocks for successful poaching down the road. All right, and that's the end of video 1, so please check your email tomorrow, as you guys will see video number 2 pop up at some point. And that's all I got for you. So hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon. All right, welcome guys. Here we are with video number 2 on poaching this week, and what I'd like to discuss is the timing on the poach. With the first video we did, you guys saw the technique behind the volley and a little bit of the technique behind the movement. Today's all about timing the poach well, and it's something that really confounds a lot of club level players. As you guys can see, we're not going to go out on court today. We're going to look at just a standard poach in a professional match. This happens to be the 2014 Australian Open Final. We've got Raven Clausen serving here. His partner up at the net, which is today's resident poacher, is Eric Budarak. And then we've got Robert Lindstedt here and Lucas Kubat returning, okay? So let's look at this, you guys, in real-time speed, and then we'll break it down frame by frame. All right, so pretty simple, right? That's all I need you guys to do is run across the court like Eric did and put that poach away. Obviously, it's not that simple. A couple really important keys on the timing here. You guys look at his head here. He is so dialed into the returner because his poaching move is completely related to the time after the ball bounces, but before the returner hits it. Okay, so let's go here for a second. All right, so if you take a look, Eric's running forward maybe a step or two, and he's going to get a split step before Lucas makes contact. All right, now he's already pushed off. You guys can see the return is making its way cross court. It's going to come back here. What I like to think of time-wise, specifically for the club level players, a little bit different than for these pros. If I broke this down, there are 30 frames in 1 second, and I actually counted this out. Eric starts making his move after 10 frames, okay? So that means a third of a second before Lucas makes contact, Eric starts pushing off to the center of the court. All right, obviously the ball is being struck extremely hard in professional tennis, obviously being a major final. These guys are at the top of the game. So at the club level, I think a half second is just about the right amount of time. And again, I'd love to give you guys a specific, exact time to be able to go in a poach to have constant success. It's just not something that's ever going to be an exact science, though. So if you guys can think of it where you guys are moving towards the middle of the court about a half second before the returner makes contact, it should put you in a pretty good position to cover some court towards the middle, get your racket on the ball, but at the same time, not give up the down the line return. And obviously that's a big fear at the club level, is that poaching means that the returner has the chance to go down the line and leave you guys exposed. If you left, say, a second early, some players I see are so eager to poach, they're leaving maybe 2 seconds early. That gives the returner way too much time and an ability to adjust their return and go down the line and beat you. All right? Leaving too late is also another issue, though. Sometimes I see at the club level, a club level player will wait in their split step position here and not end up going until after the returner makes contact. And that leaves you feeling very defensive on your poach, almost like just getting a racket on the ball is a success. And that's really not the feeling you guys are looking to have. You're looking to feel that dominance of the center of the court where the ball's just kind of gravitating towards a position that you have already achieved. All right, now, as you see, I mean, Eric's feet just got over that center service line. You know, it's not like a lot of club level players are going to need to make a move where they're coming all the way into this half of the court. A lot of times, if you guys get yourselves somewhere around the center of the court, you're going to have a pretty good success rate with your poaching. If you leave too early and you're ending up over here, like I said, you're probably going to get beat down the line. And if you're not getting into this zone, let's say you're only getting to about here, you know, it gives the returner way too much room to have comfortability with that cross-court return. All right, so let's watch these guys one more time in real-time speed. You know, it just, to make it look that simple, which is something that you guys are capable of doing, the timing of the poach is so crucial. So let's look for about that half-second, you know, distance between the ball bouncing and hitting the opponent's racket and you guys starting to make your move towards the center of the court. These guys obviously are so good at it, and you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility that if our timing gets great like theirs, we might not end up hitting the ball as hard as they do, but you guys will have a lot of success with that poaching if your timing gets really, really dialed in. All right, so thanks to these guys today. That's all I got for you guys today with video number 2. Look for video number 3. It will be coming tomorrow via email. And until then, go out there, practice that timing on your poaches. I think you guys will see a much, much improved success rate. Hey guys, welcome. Here we are with video number 3 in our poaching course this week. And today we're going to be looking at planned poaching. And anytime we're planning out a poach means we're in communication with our partner. You know, you see the pros giving signals all the time to one another, and that's something that is really, really key for you guys when you're trying to map out these poaches if they're going to be effective. So as we go on court today, we're going to learn about, you know, verbal communication and these signals that are very common at the high levels of the game. All right, so without further ado, let's pop on court and take a look. All right, guys, so here we are out on the court, and like I said before, when talking about planned poaching, the main idea here is really the signaling or communication between my partner and I, the server back here, okay? When it comes to communication, you know, it seems like something that probably doesn't need to be coached, but when walking around the club level, this is something that definitely faults a lot of club level players. So as Mark and I are in between points and the idea is to poach, I would probably meet him halfway, you know, keep my back to the opponent, and just a quick discussion here. All right, Mark, I'm going to poach on this one, try to serve down the tee, okay? And then we come back out. That's a quick chat that doesn't happen enough at the club level, okay? So have those little conversations, especially if we're trying to pre-plan a play like this, as significant as a poach is going to be. The other option we have is the signaling. And while some of you, I think, probably see some pros signal, you've maybe heard about signaling, you guys want to know that the open hand is the sign that Mark understands that I'm going to poach, and the closed hand is the sign that I'm going to stay. So what I'll do a lot of times, and I might, you know, over communicate with Mark, but this is something that probably is really helpful for you guys. Have the quick chat on what you're going to do, and then to just reinforce it as you come back up, pop that hand behind your back and remind him of the discussion you have. In this case, because I'm poaching,
I'd open that hand up, okay? Now, Mark's job after this pre-planned poach is not to tip the returner off too early, okay? So the job here is that in my poach position, I'm going to have a slight delay right after the ball lands on the returner side and then get going, okay? Mark's job is to have a slight delay on his half of the court before moving over to my side. He obviously needs to come across and cover me. But what happens a lot is the server, knowing they need to cover that side and feeling possibly a little frantic about it or a little defensive about it, will serve and then just go. The returner sees that, you know, it kind of tips them off to the fact that I'm poaching. We do not want that, okay? So have that slight delay where the ball lands, and then boom, I go, and then Mark comes across and covers, okay? Third point I want to make, this is a little more advanced, but I want to make you guys aware of it. Hopefully a lot of you are capable of this. This is advanced signaling, and this would be if Mark, my partner, has such good command of his serve that I'm not only going to let him know when I'm poaching or staying, I'm going to also tell him where I would like the serve to go. And a lot of times, I think you guys will start to see this as well, it's much easier and much more effective for the poacher to go across the middle if the serve goes down the tee, all right? Because if it goes out wide, the net player is usually meant to shade over and cover closer to the alley. So if I called for a poach and Mark ended up serving out wide, it would really tax him to get over to what very possibly could be a down-the-line return. So with that advanced signaling, I'll either flash the open hand or closed hand. In this case, because we're discussing the poach, I'm going to flash the open hand to let him know I'm poaching. And then I'm going to give him a direction with one of my fingers. Usually my thumb means that I want him to serve down the tee. My pinky means that I want him to serve out wide. So kind of that classic poach advanced signal would be open hand and then thumb. Okay, now, if you guys don't have a partner that has great command of their serve, don't put that pressure on them to tell them where to serve. Let them just go after it. Try to pre-plan the poach. But a lot of times, if that's the case that the server doesn't have great command of the serve, what the poacher should do is just kind of wait for that opportunity to see the down the tee. And that to me is a little conversation. I'd come back to Mark and I'd say, hey Mark, I want to pre-plan a poach. If I see your serve go down the tee, I'm going to go. And if I see your serve go out wide, I'm going to stay. That way there's no pressure on him that I'm telling him where to serve, but he also knows now that if he does serve down the tee, I'm going and he needs to cover, okay? So those are those main points of pre-planned poaching, you guys. You're looking, you know, for great communication, whether it's signaling or having that quick chat with your partner, possibly both. I highly recommend that. Making sure that the delay by the server is timed very well with the delay by the poacher so that we're covering similar times. And then go out and try that advanced signaling where you guys see if you can kind of bump your level of play up by trying to direct the serve in order to help the poacher, okay?
So there you have it, guys. That video on planned poaching, I think, is an absolute must for you, not to just see this time, but go back, kind of check in on it every once in a while. Give yourself that reminder that even if your level of play isn't super high yet, that it's never too early, you know, to have this formula of communication between you and your partner to make sure that poaching is effective in your doubles matches. All right, so look for video number 4 coming tomorrow. That's where we tackle the idea of unplanned poaching. But until then, I hope this was super enjoyable, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome. Here we are with video number 4 of our poaching course that we're doing this week. Today's video, we're looking at the unplanned poach, the idea that we don't always have to be in communication with our partner in order to be an effective poacher. There's a couple scenarios that I want you guys to be aware of, to look out for in order to be a little more effective in your doubles matches. So let's go ahead and take a look on court at a few of these scenarios and get you guys acclimated. All right, so here we go with unplanned poaching.
So two things I want to talk about here with the unplanned poach. So we got Mark back here. One of the best kind of scenarios that I can paint for you guys for the unplanned poach, where I don't talk about it with Mark, is that if he gets into a cross-court rally with the baseliner on the other side, and they're swinging away, and I'm kind of, you know, bouncing, waiting to get into the rally here, and now we're talking about 5, 6, 7 shots cross-court. I mean, take a guess where you think the next ball from the opponent's going to go. People like to hit steady. So that, you know, my guess is that after 5 or 6, 7 shots between these two guys going cross-court, the next ball from the opponent's going cross-court too. So anytime you see a cross-court rhythm between your partner and your opponent that's lasting a decent amount of shots, start to take that gamble that, okay, I'm guessing the next one's going to go, he's about to swing, and then cut across. The other really good scenario for the unplanned poach is when Mark cracks a shot that you as the net player think puts your opponent into a tougher position than you've seen them in previously in the rally. Okay, if Mark, say, plays the first 2 or 3 balls and lands them around the service line, they're kind of sitting up for the baseliner right in his strike zone. Those aren't shots where I feel like Mark pressured the opponent, so I might not be prone to poach on those. But if all of a sudden Mark loads up and rips something deep right up the center of the court that the net player over here didn't get a racket on, and now I'm seeing the baseliner over there picking up this low backhand from right off the baseline, he's in a tough position there. That's a great chance that I should start to flash across the middle as an unplanned poach and see if I can snag something up around the top of the net. It's very rare that you guys will see a ball deep to the center of the court, possibly right on top of the baseline, get flicked down the line for a winner. You know, if you're finding your opponents doing that, there's a good chance you're playing in the US Open. Okay, more often than not, that ball gets floated up somewhere around the center of the court. More often than not, it's drifting cross court. That's a play where, okay, if I'm really keen on what my partner's ball is doing, okay, short, 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 deep middle, here I go. There's my unplanned poach opportunity, okay? Okay, so another one of these scenarios, besides for, say, that deep rip by Mark back to the middle of the court, is possibly a scenario where one or both of my opponents are up around the net, and either Mark or myself gets a ball down low to their feet on the volley. Okay, and I think a lot of you guys would agree with me that when you're around the service line, having to pick something up from the service line on a low volley, more than anything, you guys are hoping to make that, right? So with that being said, this ball usually is going to pop up. We don't want to miss it in the net. And a lot of times we're not trying to take this thing and direct it to the sides of the court. Again, that would be a play that somebody in the US Open is using. So more often than not, this is a great chance to make an unplanned poach yet again, because this ball tends to float high around the middle of the court. So if I'm in a position where I'm at the net, those two guys are up, Mark's back, he rips some heavy topspin down at their feet, and I see them getting ready to bend down and pick up. Here I go on my unplanned poach. I'll take anything up around the center of court. If it happens to go high enough to get over my head, hopefully Mark is able to step back in there and cover me. And again, I can't stress this enough. If I end up losing that rally, not that big of a deal. I'm utilizing a new strategy that over the long run is going to be a major factor in me playing a higher level of tennis. So let's not feel like utilizing the unplanned poach has to be a 100% guarantee that I win the rally for me to try to use it again. So, unplanned poaching. It's an instinctual thing. It's a gamble. Just because you go and maybe don't get a racket on the ball or you miss the shot, that's not wrong. That's not bad tennis. More than anything, that's great tennis. It's getting you guys, you know, more active in your matches, which is more fun for you, and you're more on the mind of the opponent, causing a little more psychological warfare on their part, which you guys are going to find creates a lot more unforced errors from them, where, like I said before, if they just see you kind of camping out in your half of the court, only waiting for stuff that comes right to you, they're going to play a lot more free tennis and have a chance to make a lot better shots because they're not worried about you up here. So start utilizing those unplanned poaches.
So there you have it, guys. One of those cool little ideas, the unplanned poach. I think it just really ups your level of doubles if something like this becomes a part of your game. So that's all we got for video 4. Look for video 5 coming via email tomorrow. We're going to look at a couple mistakes that are really common at the club level that keep you guys from being very effective poachers. All right, but until then, hope this was super helpful, and we appreciate you watching. All right, guys, so here we are, video number 5, the end of the week of our poaching course, and we're going to look at some mistakes that are common around the club level with regards to poaching. All the other videos we've done this week are kind of the positive side of poaching, and in today's video, once we head out on court, you guys are going to see 4 specifics that I see that are deterring club level players from being really effective with their poaches. All right, so let's pop out on court and take a look.
All right, guys, so here we are on court. And like I said before, the 4 common mistakes that are made with regards to poaching. The first being, and this one really, really bothers me, is that lateral move, okay? So the opponent is about to return the ball. I'm getting ready to poach, and I start going directly sideways. And more often than not, when I see the player that goes directly sideways, inevitably once they get in this half, because they realize how low the ball is getting at their feet, and this is why we can't go sideways, we're giving the ball a chance to dip a lot of times. So what was meant to be this really aggressive net play now becomes a ball where I've just gift wrapped a put away for the net player on that side of the court. All right, so you guys have to make sure you don't make that mistake of going sideways, but feel that diagonal move between you and the net and let the net just kind of pull you towards it. And you want to be, you know, it's never a mistake to almost get on top of the net when you poach. That's the idea I want you guys to have, is that you're moving in that diagonal direction to give yourself the closest possible volley to the net, okay? Secondly, so I'm in position here, and as I'm getting ready to poach, I start going on the diagonal, and I'm so excited, and my coach has been saying, be aggressive, be aggressive. And so I'm thinking aggressive is this wind up. And so I'm moving on my way to the poach with this racket all wound up, and what's the only shot we know how to hit from there is something just insanely violent. And more often than not, it's either bottom of the net as hard as I can, or it just takes off. Some of these misses when people swing on their poach are some of the worst misses you're going to see in tennis. So make sure that the aggressiveness of the play is not about the windup of the racket, but about the position you're establishing. And therefore, all I need is the racket to be out in front of me as I poach and rely on this great position in terms of my aggressiveness, not this big crazy windup, okay? Thirdly, big mistake. I poach across, and I got the net player on the service line or around the service line on the ad side of the court. I got the baseline player back on the deuce side, and here I come. I've made this great play. I've set the racket well. I've moved on a diagonal. You've done everything right, and you even make the volley. All in all, pretty good day there. But you hit it back to the baseline player. And as a baseline player, like I just said, I'm not killing this volley because I didn't wind up. I'm just sticking it well, which would work great at the net player, but back to a baseline player, pretty standard baseline shot for them. So the poach worked great, and now guess what? They're sitting on just kind of an easy forehand or backhand. You're stuck up here by the net, kind of out of play, and it becomes Mark's issue dealing with a corner ball, possibly a lob over my head. We maybe get stuck in I formation, who knows? It's a total disaster. So make sure 99% of the time that you guys make that poach well. You moved well, you set well, you volleyed well, you make the shot. Have the target be the person that's at net on the other side of the court, not back to the baseline player, okay? That brings us to fault number 4 of you poachers out there who aren't getting enough out of your poaching. And that's leaving my position here too early. A lot of times we can be so focused on getting this thing taken care of in terms of getting to my partner's side of the court that kind of before the serve lands, Mark goes ahead, serves it in, I see it land, and here I go, okay? And now the ball is just bouncing up. The returner has plenty of time to change his mind about where he's returning. Pretty good chance he can go down the line. This is a really big stretch for a doubles player to get from the position Mark was in on his serve to go get a ball that's possibly landing around the single sideline on this half of the court. That's a really tough shot, okay? I want to mention this to you guys so that you don't fault the idea of poaching when it doesn't work out well, okay? A well-timed poach, when I go, there are still some shots out there that I'm not going to be able to get to when I poach well. That's just the nature of the beast. Even with me, my arms are crazy long, and there's times where I've moved exactly when I know I'm supposed to. I come across, move diagonal, get completely outstretched, covering a lot of court here, and the ball still lands in. It's not a bad poach on my part, it's just a great return on the opponent's part. So don't feel like as the poacher you've got to leave so early as to avoid giving up any shot that gets made out there. Because ultimately the returner won't have a problem changing their mind on where to go with the return if you've tipped it off too early. Not to mention it, like I said, it puts my partner in a really bad position having to cover way too much court back there. All right? So those are those 4 key faults. We've got to clean those up in order to have more effective poaching.
So there you have it, guys. 4 really clear-cut mistakes with a subtle 5th, which might be that guy's hair right there. But really look to be avoiding those mistakes, you guys. And I think the idea of poaching will be laid out so much cleaner, so much simpler when we don't have those issues on our hands. All right, so that concludes this 5-video course on poaching this week. I hope it was super helpful. I just think poaching is such a fantastic part of doubles, and I would love to see it, you know, being executed just a little bit better by most of the players I'm seeing around the club. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that and appreciated that. This video was obviously free, so to make sure you have it at your beck and call when you guys need to go back and take a look, either bookmark this page or save this last email, and you guys will have this on file all the way down the road, okay? Look for all the other free content that we put out on YouTube and on our website. We got plenty more of that coming. And until then, we really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you soon.